Okay, November 13th. Today in 1789, George Washington completed his first presidential tour of the countryside. He was inaugurated in April of 1789, and so in November he decided to take a tour of the New England states at that time. So he traveled 24 days up by stagecoach all the way up to Kittery, Maine. And many of these people had never seen George Washington. He hadn't been to many of those places, so this was their first chance to really see the hero of the Revolution in person. So it was very well received. A couple years later, he would do the same thing through the southern states and travel through the southern states. But a couple things to note here. One, at that time, the capital was still in New York City. So he was traveling from New York City up into New England, not from Washington, D.C., because Washington, D.C. did not exist at that time. They hadn't formed the capital in D.C. yet. The other thing was he was inaugurated in April, which is something a lot of people don't know. The Constitution had been approved, but by the time it got approved and the states had a chance to organize elections, elections were held, and then time for everything to happen in order to have an inauguration, it was about a month late. It was supposed to have been in March, ended up being in April. So even though George Washington was elected to two 4-year terms, he did not serve 8 years. He only served 7 years and 11 months. So just an interesting little tidbit. So that's what happened today. 1789, George Washington concluded his first tour of the countryside, going up into New England, all the way up into Kittery, Maine, which at that time was part of Massachusetts, because Maine would be a state later. So that's what I have for you today. I will see you tomorrow.